Welcome to Sofa Stories, episode 10. Yes, we reached double digits. It's just me, Ollie, this week as Nick is away on a family holiday. But I'm going to share with you a very special interview that I did with a great friend of mine who happens to be the longest serving star in a television role. I'll be talking to this very special human being about his journey in becoming that character and our shared passion for finding childlike enthusiasm. The importance of the little things in life, the role of play and being a big kid, and skydiving at 90 years old. Okay, no more clues. You probably guessed it. I'm really excited about this one. Let's get into it. I have a very special guest with me today in the studio who I have been watching on television for a very long time, but he's been on television even longer than I've been watching. This is a customer of mine, a friend of mine, and somebody who I have some fascinating conversations with, somebody who I'm extremely curious about, and I think we can all learn from and be inspired by. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to today's guest, which is Mr. William Roach OBE. This is my mate Bill. How are you doing, Bill?
Well, what an introduction that was.
Oh,
I would like to say that you give tremendous joy to so many people, and you've got a wide circle of people who love you and speak nothing but highly of you. And I do love chocolate, but I also love what you do with it. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. I need to shake your hand. That is a beautiful start. Thank you very much. Indeed, it makes me feel very proud to hear that from you, because I think, like we said earlier in the car, I feel that it's almost my purpose in life, my job to make people happy, because making other people happy makes me happy.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. I mean, I know it's not easy for some people, but if you can, I find you can find enjoyment in the little things, like
Yes.
Like chocolate,
Yes.
or a piece of toast, or something like that. So try to find what gives you joy is what I try to do. And there's this part of me that I feel has never grown up, and children have a wonderful ability to find enjoyment in things, don't they?
Yes.
As I said, it's not easy for everybody, but when you can, good
Yeah.
to do. And you give a lot of joy, Ollie.
Yeah.
What you do with chocolate is so imaginative and so clever.
Thank
Is
you.
there anything you can't make out of chocolate?
Well, I mean, we've had some fun, haven't we, really,
Yeah.
with some of the orders that you've placed.
You've done some birthdays and things like that for me with my
Yeah.
children, Will and Verity, and I love those break things like a cake where you smash it
Smash
with
it.
a hammer, and then there's a little message or chocolate
Exactly.
inside. That's great.
Great. Well, I mean, for me, it's about delivering an experience for people, and a joyful experience, like you say.
You certainly do that.
Thank you so much. So, it's whether if I'm there in person and I'm delivering a chocolate party, then, that's the aim, is to make sure everybody has a memorable time and that every minute is just filled with fun.
Well, I think that's a wonderful way to live. That's
Yeah,
great.
it is actually. And obviously it can be quite stressful at times, like
Well,
any job.
I think there's always that side of life.
Always,
isn't there, that
yeah.
You have to do the paperwork or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that needs to be done.
Exactly. Yeah. And, with things like the chocolate smash, it's nice to provide the personalised gift, but as well, they've got to smash it to get to what's exciting. It's like an experience.
It's exciting to do that.
Definitely. And there was the chocolate wizard as well that I made for Saria McKellen.
Oh,
That was,
yes. Oh, God, I remember that. That was really wonderful.
it was like blue chocolate, wasn't it, with
yeah.
stars on it and stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, because Ian came over in Mother Goose, which was originally a pantomime, but it's been turned into a sort of variety show. And he's very generous in it because every character is great and strong and it's really amusing. So he was on at the Lowry and we all went to see it. And then we met him afterwards, and he's a lovely man. He's
Really?
very sweet, yeah.
Fantastic. I have met him actually once he was at Anthony Cotton's birthday party.
Oh, right,
and,
yeah.
I met him
Anthony's
there.
very friendly with him.
Exactly. He's a
Yeah.
great guy. Yeah, they both are. But no, I think that's what's great about what both of us do. I think actually we have a lot in common, don't we, really? Because we do interesting things. We get to meet interesting people.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say we do what we love.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it 7 decades? Is it
Well,
7 decades?
62 years, yes.
Yeah.
I'm in my 7th decade of being in the street, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very different now from what it was in 1960 when we started.
I mean, you were in the first ever episode.
Yeah.
I mean, that is...
Very first, which was live.
Yeah.
But of course, in those days, television was broken up into little areas, and Granada television was just a small northwestern area. It wasn't network.
Right. Right.
And what had happened was I got this is 1960, early in 1960, I got the lead in a television play. And the play of the week at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night was the highlight of the week. Okay. So this was going to be a quantum move in my career. I was really excited about that.
Yeah. And
it was about a young soldier in Germany who falls in love with a German girl. He's called Marking Time. Sadly, they can't find it anywhere. But anyway, I actually filmed that at Granada. And it was the time when Tony Warren was trying to get Coronation Street off the ground, and unbeknown to me, he took someone from casting down to the studio where I was filming and pointed to me and said, he's the one I want for Ken Barlow. Wow. And I didn't know about that. So I did this play, and then I went back to my flat in Primrose Hill, and then my agent rang up and said, they want you to go back to Granada to do, he said, I think it's a small comedy show or something. I said, don't want to do it. I said, my play's going to be coming out in about a few weeks. That's going to be a big career move for me.
Yeah.
And anyway, he rang back later and said, look, they want you to come up and just do a pilot. He said, you get paid for it. It's just 4 or 5 days work. And you might as well do it. You've got nothing on at the moment. I said, okay, yeah, I'll do that. But I don't want to do the thing. So I came up, I did the pilot, and I found it interesting because it was very different, but I didn't, it was just a small area and it was only going to run for 11 weeks anyway. So when my agent rang me and said, they want you, I said, I told you, I really don't want to do this because I've got this play and I'm quite sure it's going to make a big difference to my career.
Yeah.
He said, wait a minute, Bill, look at it this way. If you do this series, it's going to go on twice a week, it's only going to run for 11 weeks. In the middle of that, you will go out in the play on a Wednesday night. Think what a shop window that is. I think,
right.
Yeah, it's good.
You had to really sell it
I'll
to
do
you.
it. It's just been a very long 11 weeks.
Oh, my God.
But it was amazing. And, of course, what it was, I remember the producer saying, what have we got here? Yeah. It was the new realism that was sweeping through the theatrical world. You had John Osborne's Look Back in Anger, Marlon Brando, James Dean in cinema.
Yeah.
We were kitchen sink drama.
Yeah.
And Sidney Bernstein, head of Granada, he said, people don't want realism, they want escapism.
Yeah.
But this was realism. And, of course, the minute we went out, we hit the pulse. Yeah. And very quickly, all the other areas took us on. And before we knew it, we were top of the ratings. Yeah. And we've never been out of the top 10 in 62 years.
God,
so good old Tony, we all owe a big debt to Tony Warren. It's absolutely amazing.
How lovely. What an amazing vision that he had.
We did.
And to point you out.
He was when I first met Tony, he was like a young schoolboy, all excited, had just been given a whole holiday or something. And he was so creative, Tony. And look what the seeds that he sowed in those first few weeks. Other writers, of course, have taken over completely now, but they've grown. The heart of Coronation Street is still there.
Yeah.
And
what
Tony
a legacy.
was a lovely man,
Yeah. I mean, you just get to work with such fascinating people and you know, like you say,
and there's so many people. Cliff Richard's been in, and many others have come along and wanted to be in it. And Ian McKellen was in it.
Right.
And it was really lovely. So I've been really lucky.
Yeah.
So lucky. And I thank Tony pretty well every day, and thank Coronation Street and ATV for maintaining it like they have for so long. Because I've just been aboard this ship, which has sailed through and got me MBE 20 years ago, OBE.
And a Guinness World Record.
I mean, if you stick around long enough, these things come.
A Guinness World Record as well.
I'm in the Guinness Book of Records. Oh, yes, I am.
So we actually have that in common. I'm going to drop that one in there. So I actually have a Guinness World Record.
Oh, for what?
So it's for the largest number of people making chocolate together online. So this was during COVID when we couldn't do real life. events. So we did a virtual event for 511 people, and we got a Guinness World Record. So my certificate is up on the wall there. So
I've got my certificate. Yes, so we've got that in common.
Exactly. Mine is not as impressive as yours.
Wow.
But
Well, mate, you've created something, Ollie, that is really beautiful.
Thank you.
And it's from the heart. It has a lot of love and a lot of joy in it.
Yeah, that's true.
It shows in you. You know, your eyes are shining. You're obviously smiling. You obviously enjoy what you do. Which is great.
Definitely.
Really good.
And so you work hard, though. Like, you know, you're saying that you've been lucky, but you do work hard.
You can get some weeks where you're working all day and learning at night, but I call those dark tunnels of work. But normally, where I am now, whereas I used to be the instigator of the things in the family, I'm maybe on the periphery of what my dysfunctional family get up to, which they do, thank goodness. I love them all dearly. So yeah, I still enjoy it. It's wonderful.
And you seem to have a good balance of life. You know, you work and you play, you know, and you often talk about how important it is in life to have fun.
It is. It's so important. As I said, like children, they automatically just want to enjoy themselves. And I feel a bit childlike. I feel I've never grown up.
Again, I think, you know, as a big kid myself, you know, I aspire to still keep that when I get to your age.
I think
so.
I think so, because I think the fun can come in the little things, can't it? Like
definitely.
Like chocolate.
Like chocolate, or a pink microphone, or a toy, you know, an action figure.
Yes, if you can keep looking for that, and some people it's very difficult, I understand that, but you can usually find a bit of joy somewhere. And the more you do that, the more enjoyable your life is.
I think so. The more you focus on things that you're grateful for, and practicing.
And I'm really grateful to Coronation Street and Tony Warren. I owe it a lot.
It's great that I think it's nice that you don't become complacent. You still
well, funnily enough, you can't. It's so different now the way we film it. We used to rehearse for a week, and we're only on twice a week. Now we're on the equivalent of 6 times a week, 3-hour-long programs. So we film it in a different way now. But I like the way we work now. It's very spontaneous. You just turn up, having learned it, and run through it, run the lines, and then you go for it.
Really?
So the feelings within it are pretty spontaneous. And,
it's quite fast-paced.
If you need to cry, you cry, and that's it.
And you have the ability to do that, don't you? The crying and the...
I can. You can. I don't like thinking of sad things, but you can think of something that... Often, actually, I can often cry when I see something joyful happening. Something really lovely in a film where people who've been enemies suddenly become friends. I find that makes me quite tearful. So I can think of happy things and cry as well.
Well, that's a good way. That's a better way to do it.
It is a better way to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing seeing you on screen. Like I say, I've grown up watching Coronation Street, and I remember the fights with Mike Baldwin.
With Mike Baldwin.
And, like,
you know, Johnny, our dear old Johnny. We on screen we always fought. Off screen we weren't over friendly. We didn't meet up, but we used to play golf in the same golf tournaments together. And he was a nice chap, Johnny. I liked him.
Brilliant. I love it. My mum and dad have always watched Coronation Street, and I know that you've met my mum and dad. They actually live next door to what was Elsie Tanner's house.
Oh, Pat Phoenix, yes. That was in Disley, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I remember her house. Yeah, I went to her house. Pat was a lovely person. She enjoyed herself. All that early cast were amazing.
Love that. Do you remember having parties there at that house then? Did you?
I've been to Pat's house a few times, yes. I did go there. Fantastic. But the thing is, we work long hours together during the day, and we get on well. So if you've got a life, you go home.
Exactly.
Some of them meet up, but we meet up at anniversaries and parties and Christmas and things like that. But generally... Anne Kirkbride, for instance, who I was married to for 35 years on screen. She was such a lovely person. Never far from laughter when she was around.
Amazing.
Wonderful comedy timing and rock solid with her lines.
Brilliant.
And she was just a delightful person to know. I really miss her.
Yeah, I bet. That was Deirdre, right?
Yeah, she was lovely. That was sad.
Yeah, absolutely. slightly off the subject, but do you ever get nervous?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Very well. Not so much. Well, it depends on your scene. Sometimes you get a scene, 4 or 5 pages, and it might require you to be angry or cry or something. So there's a lot in it. So obviously, in the morning when you wake up and you think about that, you can feel a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But usually when I come to do it, providing you need to learn it, that's the thing about acting. Anyone wants the key to acting. I remember someone once saying, and it's so true, learn your lines. Once you know your lines and you have confidence in knowing your lines, you can enjoy it. The writers are wonderful, and you do get some wonderful moments that they write. It's really
very clever.
Nice. But yes, you have to create the emotion and the feel.
Yes. I mean, I suppose nerves, I always think nerves are quite a good
they
thing.
lift you up.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
It's like adrenaline.
I'm not complacent, definitely not. I mean, every day now when we go, whereas before we would rehearse all week and just record on the Friday, used to get really nervous on the Friday. Right. Now you go in and do it.
Yeah.
And you feel some scenes, as I said, which are quite tricky maybe and demand a range of emotions. Yeah. You want to get it right. So I get a little.
I mean, I do, and I think sometimes it's good because for me, I always try to turn the nerves into more like excitement than fear.
Well, I was going to say, there's very little difference between nerves and excitement. Right. And the excitement is good. And if you have a tricky scene that you're slightly nervous about, when you do it and you know it's gone well, you feel really good. It's a lovely feeling to get it right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just on the learning the lines, is there any particular technique that you use to make sure that you remember every single line?
You know, it's interesting that it's not like learning poetry. It's a sequence. Like, hello, are you coming to the Rovers? Yeah. Okay, well, you know, what are you going to do later today? Well, I'm going to go to the bistro for a meal. Do you want to come along? Yeah, okay. It's like that. Okay. So what you do is you listen. Yeah. And the writing is brilliant. The writers, I don't know how they do that. They do a brilliant job. And providing you're listening and you've learned your lines, you respond. So that's all it is. Acting is basically listening and responding. Okay.
It sounds to me a little bit like a visualization. You're visualizing the scene perhaps as well as learning the lines?
It is in a way visualization, but it's also a memory of how this would be. And what's extraordinary about Coronation Street, and it's the only thing, well, one or two other soaps will do this, it draws on itself. Okay. So I can look back on Ken for the last 62 years, and I can draw on what he was feeling at the time and do that.
So you have a memory for Bill, but you have a memory for Ken.
A different memory about what Ken went through, because I regard myself as Ken's caretaker. Is that? And I like him. He's a good man, well-meaning, but he doesn't always get things right. He's got this dysfunctional family around him. Yeah. And his relationships were never very good, because his first marriage to Valerie, I met Anne Reid, who played Valerie the other day in the program they did about my life, and I hadn't spoken to her since those early 10 years. And when she came in to the Rovers on the side, we just laughed.
I saw that clip. It was
interesting. We didn't say anything. We just laughed and laughed and laughed. And it was lovely to meet up again. So I remembered, you do remember certain bits,
That's magic, isn't it? Yeah. That chemistry, and you'd not seen her for such a long time.
Well, that's right. It had been a very long time. And she'd done so well. Yeah. Anne Reid, she's such a good actress. And we had a really nice marriage, you know, with the children and everything. So, you look back on, you've got his own history to draw on.
Do you ever sort of like get frustrated with him, or have regrets for him?
There's always moments that you think, sometimes you think maybe the writer hasn't got this, but the writers are so good, they understand you well, and they will take you off in different directions. Sometimes you're not sure if that's right, but they're very good. Often I find, I'm not sure I'd really say that, but when I work on it and go more deeply into it, they're usually right.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's cool. I love hearing about that. Off topic again slightly. I just wanted to mention the was it the bungee jump, or it was a you jumped out of a plane, didn't you?
No, I
Was
didn't
it,
do a bungee jump. I wouldn't do a bungee jump, but I did a skydive.
A skydive,
yeah.
that was it.
Boy, it's a very grown-up thing to do.
Wow, that was on your 90th.
We did it to raise money for the homeless, and
Yeah.
I got there, and I was really nervous about it. The guys were very good. You're strapped to one other guy. So we went through what we had to do, and he said the important thing is when you're landing to lift your legs up. Other than that, pretty straightforward. So we got in the plane and we went up and up and up, and we got really high. I thought, my golly, this is high. And he said, we're only halfway. I thought, oh, gosh, because you jump out at 15,000 feet, which is half the height of domestic flights. Oh. And what happens, the side of the plane opens, the instructor sits on the edge, but you're like sitting on his lap, and you're right over. You look over the Lake District, like a map of England almost there.
Wow.
And the bit I didn't know about, and that took me by surprise, you don't drop out, you roll out.
Oh, okay.
So you're rolling over, you're doing 125 miles an hour, you can't breathe, you don't know where you are, and that's not very nice.
No.
But then a little chute opens that stabilizes you, but then you're in free fall.
Okay.
That was okay. And you put your arms out, and the wind's blowing your mouth back and everything like that. And and then the main chute opens, and it's beautiful. You just float down.
Really?
With this great view. But the one thing they didn't tell me about, there's altitude sickness.
Oh.
And I did the rolling out. I was all fine. But as it opened out, I was going down. I suddenly felt really sick. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be interviewed. The media, the press were waiting down below. And I thought, I'm going to throw up all over the camera. It's not going to Anyway, I managed to get through that, and the nausea went later in the evening. But other than that, it was a fantastic experience. I'm so glad I did it.
That is an amazing thing to for anyone to do. That's a big tick off the bucket list.
It's a big thing. When they open the side of the plane and you're sitting there over... Like a map of England.
Yeah, I relate to it slightly. I did actually do a bungee jump.
Oh, you did a bungee?
I did a bungee jump.
How was that?
I really enjoyed it. I was absolutely, filled with excitement for the rest of the day.
Yeah, afterwards.
It's a high, isn't it?
You feel good.
You do.
Yeah.
It's such a relief. I was very nervous about doing it. It was in Tatton Park in Lutsford, so I did it off the crane over the lake or over the mere. And it's kind of like you just... I kept telling myself that I cannot hesitate because you have to jump, obviously. So you got to. So I kept, when he says 3, 2, 1, as soon as he says 1, I'm going. I cannot procrastinate because if I start to hesitate, I might not do it. So I did, and it is the weirdest feeling. But then you bounce back up, and then So the one thing that I didn't really think about before was the fact that I'm actually going to free fall twice because
you get a second one. And how do you get out of it?
I think they just gradually lower you down until you get to your feet. That bit's a blur actually, but it was perfectly fine kind of getting
No, it is that first moment, isn't it? Like getting out on the side of the plane and seeing how far it is. But you do feel good afterwards.
You do.
Don't you?
And I think it's a great example that for me, I think best things in life are often on the other side of fear, and it's doing things that scare you.
Is an emotion, and usually when you face it, it disappears. And I wasn't frightened at all.
Wow.
I was before thinking about it. That really terrified the daylights out of me. But actually doing it right through, getting into the plane, even getting on the edge, I had no fear at all.
Oh, even when you were going up
even
in the
going up,
okay.
I thought I was a bit. It's a bit high. And then we said we're only halfway. I thought, okay. And I didn't think, I was just trying to concentrate, and I thought, I'm going to enjoy this. I said to myself, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And apart from that rolling out, not knowing where you are for quite a few seconds, it was enjoyable.
Good. I mean, I often use it as like a reference in my life, the bungee jump moment, because it's like... When I did Blue Peter, so the first time I ever did live television, I was to walk out on stage with this big chocolate Blue Peter badge. I had a full Christmas suit on for the Christmas special, and it was like, waiting to be counted in to go on the set.
That's
and
the
it's
worst one,
live,
isn't it?
and I know it's
and
live.
A lot of people are watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, no, this is fun. It's like you said, just enjoy it, embrace it.
Yeah.
It's the bungee jump moment. It's when they say go, I'm just
You've
going to go.
go.
And then I'm just going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was out there, I was like, great, bring it on. And it felt so good.
That's it, because it's like we said with fear, where when you actually face it like that, it's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think life is about experiences, isn't it? And enjoying. And
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But basically, I want to experience joyfulness.
Yes, exactly. I think that's a good mantra.
Yeah.
In life, we have ups and downs. We have good times and bad
Of course we do, and
times.
everybody does, and some people have really difficult times.
Yeah.
I know that's hard. And sometimes finding a joyful thing isn't easy at all.
No.
But yes, I would say, just like your bungee jump was a special moment for you. My skydive was a special moment for me.
Yeah,
I'd done the zip wire in North Wales before,
Brilliant.
which was a bit like that. I was nervous about it before, but actually during it was fine.
Absolutely. And do you think that experiences in life kind of make us who we are? Like
I think to some
bad?
extent they do, and of course some people don't have good experiences.
Yeah.
But it is, yes, life is what we experience, and we can learn from that.
Yeah.
And I'm always optimistic about the future and hopeful about the future, and try to enjoy life best I can.
Yeah. And I think it's how it's not always easy to do, but I guess it's how we react to things that are going on in our life, isn't it?
Well, I don't like looking too much at things that aren't happy. It's not that I'm putting my head in the sand. I know some awful things are going on, but I want to get myself into an emotional state that is more joyful.
Yeah.
And that way you celebrate more and you help more people, I think.
Yeah,
that way. You certainly help
a
lot of people with what you do with chocolate, and give a lot of joy to joyfulness.
Thank you. I agree. I feel that almost an obligation to protect my own energy, mood, and try my best to do what I need to do in order to be in a good place.
Absolutely.
Mentally,
Yes.
and
Yes.
therefore I can hopefully lift other people in.
Absolutely
in what I
right,
do.
and that does, and that's a joyful thing in itself. If you know you're giving joy to other people, that's a good thing.
Definitely.
To do.
Yeah, I certainly get. I call it charged. Like I charge from the work that I do. When I give so much energy out, then it kind of comes back full circle.
Well, it will do, because you do it so well, and you obviously enjoy what you do. You were brought up. Your father was a chocolatier, wasn't
exactly.
he? So you were born into the business, and chocolate itself is just a joyful thing.
It's a happy thing.
And what you do with it is truly amazing.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
It's wide open, isn't it?
It
what
is.
You can do.
That's the great thing.
You have parties, don't you? And
you
train people to how to play with chocolate. That's wonderful.
It is. I like to say that my job is kind of playing with chocolate. And,
Absolutely.
I get to play.
And what a good job that is.
Here we're just going to take a small break as we hear from our sponsors. This episode of Sofa Stories is brought to you by Mynurva. MYNURVA is a leading provider of one-to-one therapy delivered by highly qualified therapists. Mynurva is proud to support the mental health of many individuals, as well as working with universities, corporations and football clubs such as Blackburn Rovers. Nick and I speak often about our own challenges with mental health on and off the sofa, and we realise the importance of opening up, and possibly you can relate to that. If you are struggling emotionally, going through a difficult life event, or experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety, Mynurva can help. Mynurva offers a safe, confidential space to talk through your concerns and help you to get the support you need. There are no waiting lists and therapy can be accessed immediately. Mynurva is offering all Sofa Stories listeners and viewers 10% off therapy sessions. Simply visit www.mynurva.com/Sofa Stories to book online and enter the code SOFASTORIES10 to redeem your discount. But for now, it's back to the sofa. That inner child that we all have, and trying to hold on to that childlike personality that you grow older, you have responsibilities, and it's not.
Well, I still feel I haven't grown up.
No, really. Amazing. So apart from Coronation Street, obviously you play golf and you spend time.
I still play.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to be musical, but I'm not.
Right.
And at school, I took up the worst instrument someone who isn't very musical could possibly take up, and that was the trumpet. And people at home I was at boarding school, and when I came home, they always knew I was home. They'd hear this noise blasting out of the back room business. But recently, I had a friend who gave me a clarinet.
Wow.
So I started to learn the clarinet, and I got quite good. In fact, when my son Linus had his birthday, I managed to play Happy Birthday to him.
Brilliant.
There's one high note in that I couldn't actually do. I got to the point where all my fingers were on all the vowels, and then the next thing they were off, and I couldn't quite get that right.
Okay.
And then for some reason, I put it down, and I didn't pick it up.
Okay.
And I forgot everything.
Oh, okay.
But I suddenly thought, no, I can't be doing with this. I'm going to restart.
Right.
So I've got how I can get the noise right with the reed. It's a reed instrument, and get the fingering right. And I want to get back to being, you just have to play a lot. You have to practice a lot, so your fingers automatically go on to the little vowels that it has so many of them.
Yeah.
I just love being able to play simple little tunes.
It's good for the soul.
Good for the soul.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at knowing the beat, the rhythm, and coming in on the right beat. I always just miss it and feel over, and it throws me completely. So I've got to get better at it and get more musical as a person.
So maybe the fact that you've not been musical in the past at all, is
I've
that
always
what
wanted
attracts
to
you?
be,
Okay.
But as a child, neither of my parents were interested in that very much. I just enjoy the bit that I do.
And going back to, you served in the military.
I did. I was in the army for 6 years.
6 years. Does that, what kind of lessons did you learn?
It was an invaluable experience.
Really?
It was truly amazing. My father was the doctor, and my grandfather was the doctor. But at school, I wasn't good at physics and chemistry, so I didn't get into medical college immediately. So the army said, you've got to do your national service first and then go in. So I thought, well, when I joined the army, I joined the Royal Welsh Fusiliers because I was at school in Colwyn Bay.
Yeah.
I thought, if I get commissioned, if I become an officer, I could stay in, and that would fulfill the family honour, because they were either army officers or doctors. And I did. I got commissioned and became a second lieutenant. And my first posting was, it's interesting actually, we did the passing out parade, and we were told after that to go to the notice board to see where you're posting it.
Okay.
So I went to the notice board, a lot of people there, and eventually I got through. I found Second Lieutenant William Roach, the Caribbean. And at the time, I wasn't quite sure where the Caribbean was.
Wow.
But I found that the 1st Battalion was stationed in Jamaica.
Wow.
So I had a year in Jamaica.
Wow.
And we just played cricket.
That's
all the time, pretty
amazing.
well. We had one little sortie in South America, in British Guiana, where we had to go over and march through the place. There was going to be a coup d'etat or something, but just the fact we were there apparently stopped them.
Right.
Well, because nobody knew what they were doing other than playing cricket. So I had a year there. Then I came back to England. The first time I met the Queen, actually, was in Jamaica when she came out on her Commonwealth tour.
Okay.
And there were 3 of us, I remember, in the Governor's Garden, and the Queen came along. She was so beautiful, so lovely. She'd only just come to the throne that year. She was really, very sweet. So then I came back to England, and that's when I did the 3-inch mortar. I put in charge of the 3-inch mortar. That's when I got my hearing damage, which I've still got. Back to England, and then we were stationed in Germany.
Okay.
And that was really serious soldiering with the Canadians, the Americans, and everybody.
Yeah.
And while I was there, a message came through to all officers. Volunteers wanted for the Trucial Oman Scouts. And I thought, Oman, Arabia. I thought, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was. We talk about impulses. And I just felt the joy and the happiness of wanting to go there. So I just went to the adjutant's office and volunteered without finding out what it really was.
Oh, wow.
A few weeks later, I was on a plane out to Cairo. The canal zone was in operation. And then I was flown by a small plane into the desert. And I remember flying over the desert for ages, and then we came across this little square of barouche huts, and the plane just landed on the makeshift airstrip.
Yeah.
And I got out and went to see the colonel there, and he said, we're in charge of keeping the peace between these 7 sheikdoms here.
Okay.
They're all, one of them is particularly warlike. Wow. So he said, you've got a few days to learn the language, and then you're going to be in charge of B Company. That's 125 Arab soldiers. So I quickly tried to learn the language. Wow. I couldn't learn very much. And I had a sergeant major who could have a smattering of English, but not much.
Yeah.
And I took over this company of 125 Arab soldiers, and we were stationed in Dubai. Wow. And at that time, to get from Dubai to Sharjah, you had to drive over sun dunes and mud flats. And then I was posted to the Baremi Oasis, which is inland from these 7 sheikdoms there. The oil companies were drilling for oil.
Okay.
But it was all very primitive, very basic, and we kept the peace for these tribes, 7 tribes. One sheikh, Sheikh Zayed, who was the chief of the sheikhs there, when they combined together and they decided to have a peaceful truce, he became the first emir. And I had a photograph taken at the top of his palace, which was a mud palace. It was very basic. But once I hit oil, of course, whoa.
Oh, wow.
And of course, I don't recognize Dubai and Sharjah now.
No.
It's very basic. But that was a brilliant experience.
I bet.
Of living with these soldiers and having to speak their language. And I was there for 2 years because the canal zone was occupied. And we're only meant to do 18 months. They said it's not good for people to be here more than 18 months. I was there for 2 years.
Right.
And when I got home, I couldn't believe when I landed in London how busy and noisy everything was. Just, we'd been so even though we'd had a little battle there, and I got a bullet up my radiator in my Land Rover, it was actually very peaceful. And I loved the desert. I felt I could sit here and feel at peace and think about my future. What I didn't realize, that was a form of meditation, which later I grew to know about and learn. So that was a fascinating experience.
So you were meditating before you knew about
I didn't
what
even
that
know
was.
I was meditating. Yes, I just felt peaceful and thought about things, and that was really good.
So was there anything in particular from that time in terms of like maybe self-discipline or...
Well, it was a lot of danger because there was an attack, and we did... In the Baremi Oasis, the Saudi Arabian army had been around. We, as a company, there were 3 companies, came together, and we went through the Baremi Oasis and came out the other side. And then the colonel said, well, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we've won or lost. I don't know what's happening here because we couldn't see the enemy as such. And they suddenly came up and surrendered.
Oh, really? It's unbelievable.
But my army experience was a bit like that. It wasn't the efficient thing that it is nowadays.
It's like you've lived like different lives,
God,
isn't it?
It was an amazing experience. I wouldn't have missed that for anything.
And the fact that you then went on to play an acting role as a German soldier, do you think
what happened then? When I came out, I got to the rank of captain. And I came out, I was, I think, 25, something like that. I'd always wanted to act, but with the family tradition of doctors and things, I thought, having been an officer, I got to the rank of captain, I've sort of discharged the family honour. And my mother was a keen amateur actress, and I'd been in the amateur dramatic society at school. So I'd always wanted to have a go, but I was 25 with no experience. So I started writing to every film I went to see. I wanted to do films, basically.
Right.
I would write to the director. So every week I would write lots and lots of letters. And I got lots of replies from people, you've got no experience, you've not been to drama school, you're not a member of Equity or whatever. But I got one message, come round to this house in Belgravia, and I went round and talked about my experience. He said, okay, I've got a part for you in a film I'm making. And it was a film called Behind the Mask about doctors. And it was an anaesthetist applying for a job. It was only 3 lines. And he handed me the phone. And the guy on the other end said, what's your name? William Roach. He said, okay. He said, well, it's only 3 days' work. And will £40 a day be all right? Oh, yeah. You know, this is 1960, 1959. No, 1953. And then he went on to say, well, okay, I'll send you the contract. And he said, you are a member of Equity, aren't you? And I heard this little voice say, yes, because I knew if I said no, I'll tell you. In those days, you had to be a member of Equity. Well, and then I thought, what am I going to do? In 2 weeks' time, I've got to do this film. I'm not a member of Equity, and I know the whole thing will be blacked if they know they're working with someone who isn't a member. Right. And to be a member, you had to have done drama schools, many years in rep, etc. So I thought, right, I'll go along to the headquarters, which was in Harley Street. I went in, it was lunchtime, and there was a girl behind the counter there. I said, look, I've got this film contract, but I'm not a member. She said, oh, just fill this form in. So I filled this form in, she wrote something. She said, I'll get someone to second it. I became a member.
Wow,
like
amazing.
And I couldn't believe it, because that was a big stumbling block in those days. You had to be a member of Equity. So I did this first film. Vanessa Redgrave had her first part in that as well. I did my 3 lines. And then I started getting, because I remember Equity, I got some bits in Ivanhoe with Roger Moore, just tiny little bits, 1 or 2 lines. I began to realise, seeing the leads at work, it was a craft, and I didn't know it. My schoolboy acting wasn't enough.
Okay.
So someone advised me, said, go into rep. And in those days, we had a beautiful repertory system. Every major town and city had a rep theatre in the 1950s. Okay. So I got into Oldham Rep.
Right.
Did a year doing a play a week.
Wow.
So during the day, I was rehearsing the following week, had the afternoon off, then performing that play, and at night just learning. Yeah. And that was a year's hard work. Yeah. But that was my training. Right. And while I was doing that, Granada Television started up. I was in Oldham, and Manchester was nearby. So I got 1 or 2 little bits. I was an extra, and I got 1 or 2 lines and things there. And then it went on. I did some small parts in films, and eventually got this lead in this play, which I told you about, Granada film, Tony Warren, Tony Ismail, and that's it. Wow. That's my life story in a nutshell.
Yeah, it is. Oh, what a journey. What an incredible journey.
Sorry, my chair's sliding back. My microphone will be changing it.
We were talking earlier in the car, weren't we, about the digital age that we live in, the modern world, AI. I just wondered what you make of all of that
AI.
In the future.
AI, it's one of these things that it's an amazing thing and can be very helpful, but there's also dangers there. So there needs to be some protections put in place, obviously. Yeah. But it can do some extraordinary things. Yeah. It's a bit like the Industrial Revolution that put a lot of people out of work, but it did get manufacturing moving forward. AI is an extraordinary thing, and there are dangers. A lot of people are very frightened of it. I can understand why. So safeguards do need to be built in. But by and large, it's a thing we can celebrate what it does do, the good aspects of it.
Definitely.
It is very helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I think it can be used well, if you can use it for creativity and I think for solutions to problems, I guess, as well.
Yes, it can be useful, but the safeguards are very important. They do need to have those in place. Which I think they had a meeting, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Recently, Elon Musk and Rishi Sunak.
I think they're all aware of that. So
exactly.
Hopefully. But things like intuition and inspiration that we as human beings have, which can be very helpful and guide you. I can't see AI having that. No. So it'll never quite be like a human.
Exactly.
But, as I said, safeguards need to be put in.
Yeah, definitely. So do you write? Is writing something that you do as a pastime, as a hobby?
Well, I wrote my autobiography. I've done 3 books. And when I first wrote my autobiography, I really sort of worked hard at that. And what I did, because I didn't have to do any research, it was all in my head.
Okay.
I just got things down very quickly.
Yeah.
And then I spent time going over them and getting the writing better and more grammatical and things like that.
Yeah.
I eventually got a publisher who said, yes, we like that book, but we want 2/3 more. I said, 2/3 more? I've written everything. It's all there. I said, no, it isn't. And they were quite right. They got someone, wonderful girls, who worked with me, who went through it all and just expanded in little bits.
Yeah.
And it was like dough in bread. You know, it grows as each cell expands.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. By the end, we got another 2/3.
Wow.
So I did need help, but basically I got it all done myself.
Was that quite a therapeutic experience?
It was therapeutic, and I quite enjoyed that. Writing can be hard work.
Yeah.
I know that there as well. As what do they say? 5% inspiration and 95% perspiration, or something to describe.
That's good.
So I've done 3 books since, but I like that help that someone. I provide the material, yes.
Yeah.
But you have someone there who assists you in enlarging on it and getting it right.
Amazing. And I suppose you must, when you're doing that, you know, it's probably a bit like this now. You're reflecting, aren't you, on the things that you've done in your life, the things that you've achieved.
Yes, you go over things and good and bad, but basically I like to be optimistic and forward-looking.
Yeah.
I don't like dwelling on anything that isn't
No.
happy.
Yeah,
So I think that's important as well, to keep your emotions as joyful as you can. I know some people that's extremely difficult, but you just do the best you can.
And you talk a lot about kind of your health, and you exercise and eat healthy.
I've always liked to be fit. I mean, at school, I played rugby for the school, and I played cricket for the school, and I played fires, and I was always pretty fit. And then in the army, not when I was in Arabia, of course, but the rest of it, I did play a bit of rugby, and in Jamaica, I played cricket.
Yes.
Apart from drinking, because what happened?
Jamaican rum.
We'd go to the plantation and start playing cricket, and then the steel bands would start up, and the rum was tuppence a tot, and they'd start handing this around. It just merged into a party. And we used to play about 3 times a week.
Wow.
That was a great experience. It also taught me about drinking as well. And I began to realise I didn't have to have a hangover in the morning. But
yeah. Do you enjoy a glass of wine now?
I don't drink at all now, because I'm sorry. I will have a glass of wine at a celebration, a wedding, or something like that. But that is all. Yeah.
Just like one glass.
It doesn't suit me. I don't feel well.
Well, that's it. We're all finding what works best for us, aren't we? So it's
yes. Everybody must do what suits them.
Yeah. Exactly.
What they enjoy.
That's it. I think life is, it's full of ups and downs, and there are bad things going on in the world, and there's a lot of people struggling. But I think if you can possibly see things from an optimistic perspective,
try to be
helps.
optimistic if you can.
Yeah,
it does help you feel better.
Yeah,
it's not always easy for some. I understand.
Do you think that's like, because you are incredible as 91, which I think is an amazing age. You don't look 91.
Yeah.
You mustn't feel it.
Aging is when I was 70.
Yeah,
I decided I was going to get younger every year.
I love that.
I think I'm about 50 now.
Is
so
that
I don't talk about 90.
Yeah, cool. A
lot of it is the belief system. People say, "Oh, take a seat, sit down." At your age, should you be sky jumping at 91? I'll try to keep doing what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
People think sky jumping at 91 wasn't right. Well, no, I keep doing what I can while I can, and doing what I enjoy while I can. I regard standing up as an exercise. I stand up, and even my own doctor, actually, when I went to see him once, he was standing up seeing patients with his screen up there. Positive attitude, not think too much about the years, just think about how you feel.
It's amazing, and keep doing the amazing work that you do on the cobbles. Keep looking after Ken. as you say.
Yeah, keep being the caretaker.
Taking care of Ken. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, no, honestly, Bill, I cannot thank you enough for taking your time to sit with me and share stories and share your thoughts and wisdom. And it really has been an absolute joy and a real pleasure.
Honestly, it has been an honour and a privilege. What you are doing is giving a lot of joy to a lot of people. And it's all in you. You're alive and vital. It's really good. So you just carry on doing whatever you're doing.
Perfect. I'll take that as doctor's orders. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Honestly, it's been a real pleasure. So I'd just like to wish you, from the bottom of my heart, all my love and best wishes for everything that you do in the future, and
Thank you
love to the family, and we look forward to. I can't wait to share this podcast, and I can't wait to share this with you first first of all, and then with the. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been captivated.
Well, I enjoyed it actually too. That's
good. It's been brilliant. So thank you very much for being here with me. From Coronation Street to Chocolate Street, a little bit of a change this afternoon, but I know you've got lines to learn this evening and you've got work to do, so we could talk all day, but I think we will...
Thank you for asking me, Ali. I feel privileged and honoured to be on your show.
Thank you, Bill. A true pleasure. You're a real gentleman.